I also got a sports betting angle that's foolproof. Since y'all want to let all these transgenders up in the league, I became almost a millionaire betting on Lia Thomas's big ass winning all them swimming meets.
Why wouldn't you make a little money betting on the dude competing against the women? This is a city council meeting in Irving, Texas, and I want you to see a local citizen who is fed up. He is outraged over that city's resistance to transgender athletes. Take a look.
Yo, Irving City Council, how you doing? My name is Tiny, and I'm a professional sports gambler. But unfortunately, my career is at a standstill because I got 6 baby mamas all in the DFW Metroplex. So I can't live in a state that's got legal gambling in the sense it will be March Madness. I'm coming up here to beg y'all to make sports gambling legal in the city so I can stack my paper and pay for the illegitimate children. I know some people think sports betting is risky, but I got an unbeaten system that can put money in all y'all pockets. Seriously. My system is easy. I bet on the blackest and darkest teams in college sports because blacker the berry, sweeter the juice, and better the jump shot. I also got a sports betting angle that's foolproof. Since y'all want to let all these transgenders up in the league, that is full proof. Since y'all want to let all these transgenders up in the league, I became almost a millionaire betting on Lia Thomas's big ass winning all them swimming meets. And just like these transgender swimmers, my swimmers are strong. That's why I got so many baby mamas. But you know what that means? I got a lot of bills to pay. So I'm sick of risking my life and my freedom on gambling illegally on transgender athletes. So I beg you, Irving City Council, to please legalize sports gambling because I can't afford to be up in the penitentiary doing 5 to 10 years on some weak ass gambling charge. I also would like it if y'all could give me some reputations because Irving is hella white and I'm hella black. My great grandfather was a slave in Mississippi, so y'all owe me for real.
1 minute left.
And I'll say one more time, you white city council people need to legitimize gambling and start putting y'all's money on these transgender swimmers because they got propellers in their back-friendly swimsuits. And remember to always bet on black. I always want to shout out to my homie, DeMarcus Calloway, who is locked up for murder, but he didn't do anything wrong, but stab a police officer, which is according to the BLM movement, is okay. It's time to get paid, legalize it, and free my homie DeMarcus.
Let's talk this through for a minute because he may be onto something. And not the betting on the blackest basketball teams necessarily, although I sort of understand his approach there. But with regard to transgender athletes, what do? You know, you can bet on sports. You can bet on college sports right now. And if they are going to let transgender athletes compete in the NCAA without any restrictions and any sort of, I mean, why wouldn't you bet? Why wouldn't you make a little money betting on the dude competing against the women? It sort of makes sense. And to that end, we've got another person who is trying to make a point about the unfairness of transgender athletes. But this one in a different direction. This is UFC fighter Julian Erosa. And during his post-fight press conference, he delivered a challenge to Lia Thomas to meet him in the ring.
Well, I was going to say that I don't like cheaters. And so, and I don't know how you guys feel about this whole situation, but I don't like cheaters. And so I wanted to call out Lia Thomas. I wanted to encourage her to encourage him to transition from women's swimming into women's MMA, and then I'll transition to become a woman, and I'm gonna beat that dude's ass. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to say, because it's all about getting a little bit of shock value. But I mean, the world that we're living in is just, there's no common sense anymore, and it's becoming a bit ridiculous. And Obviously that's one of the big things that's always been in, it's kind of going on now. And I just don't agree with men, in women's sports, even the whole Fallon Fox thing, knocking, and the girls that are, or guys that are fighting in women's MMA and knocking them out. It's like, it's a bad look.
Since we're on this topic, do you find it like clearly? I mean, personally, I think when you're talking about a man transitioning into a women's sport, when there's like a combat element, it just seems so much worse than say swimming, like you said. Do you feel like there are any instances where it would make sense, or where it could
Absolutely
be
not? No, I just fully believe. I mean, if you were, if you went through, male puberty, it's never gonna. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can give yourself to shrink your bones down. There's nothing you can do in that kind of sense. I mean, and the proof's in the pudding, right? Like you have, Mr. Thomas, who was, whatever he was ranked as a man, and then he's just beating all the women. Like it's obvious, it doesn't matter how much estrogen you're taking. And I think we're in obviously a gray area, but these gray areas are stupid to me because it's common sense. I'm not the smartest crayon in the box, but I could tell you, if I don't know anything about anything, I can still tell you that's unfair. Like in my opinion, people are gonna have their opinions and say what they want, but it's just something I strongly believe in. That, it's so funny to me that women will fight for their own spaces, and then they also fight for trans women to be in those spaces. And like those are just men. Like when is it gonna be where there's going to be, hundreds of men in like these sports, and then it just becomes another man sport? It's going to be like, it's so weird to me. I don't know. I mean, we could, dive into that can of worms all day, but yeah, that's how.
Yeah, listen, I think the most important part of this video, especially when you talk to athletes about this issue, the most important statement was the very first one he made, where he prefaced the entire thing with, "I don't like cheaters." Because ultimately, that's what this is. This is basic fairness. I mean, there are other aspects of this issue that I think are incredibly important that we focus on. The safe spaces for young women who deserve to have the dignity and privacy of their own space to change their clothes, use the restroom, or whatever they need to do. Young women deserve to be protected and have the dignity of their own locker room without a fully grown, intact man in the space with them. That's a critically important part of this. And yes, women deserve the opportunities that we've afforded as a society in women's athletics to be able to compete in a fair way so that they can get scholarships and entree into school, and also just learn the basics of what it takes to be a disciplined athlete. Athletics is incredibly beneficial to all young people in terms of formation of their character, the formation of disciplines that they take with them into their adulthood. It's hugely important. And women should have an entree into that too. The service academies, the Naval Academy, West Point, Air Force Academy, Coast Guard Academy, what have you. One of the big talent pools that they draw from for future military officers graduating out of those academies is high school sports. When they're looking for the best and brightest, yes, of course, grades are incredibly important. And you got to be pretty smart to go to the military academies. But right up there is whether you are not only a full participant in multiple sports at the high school level, but if you are the captain of your team, if you are a leader, because it says something about not just your character, but your discipline and your wherewithal to go through endurance training, hard times, push yourself to the limit, and come out with some sort of victory, even if that means just finishing the race, let alone finishing it first. And women need to have access to those things in a way that they can thrive. That's all important. But what this guy said at the very beginning is the best and, frankly, I think the most compelling argument. I don't like cheaters. Again, just like some of the other topics we've had today, this is a winning national political issue. This is something that is so abhorrent and so contrary to what most human beings see as basic fairness, and it has been jammed down our throats. And if you dare to stand up and object to it, you're intimidated and bullied and called a bigot because you don't want to let a man who is now identifying as a woman compete and defeat actual biological women who have been training their whole lives in any given sport. If you object to that, you're a homophobic, hating bigot. And we know that's not the case. We know that what's being jammed down our throats in this respect is completely unjust and completely wrong. And why our national politicians aren't talking about it more, I, again, have no idea. Make Democrats defend this. Make Joe Biden defend his position on literally redefining what it is to be a woman in the Title IX codes. Make him defend that. I'd love to hear his articulate defense of transgender athletics. But even more fundamental to this argument that he just made, that began with, I don't like cheaters. When he said to Lia Thomas, dude, move from swimming to MMA, I'll identify as a woman and we'll have a fight. Let's see what happens. Or as he put it, I'd like to kick his ass. Because, see, we saw what happened here several years ago, going on 10 years ago, I think. There was a fighter who went by the name of Fallon Fox. It was a biological man who went through puberty, had all of the physical advantages that men have, then identified as a woman, and began fighting in UFC. And, well, I'm going to show you the results of one of those fights. That would be Fallon Fox on the left giving you the thumbs up after a job well done. That's a man fighting as a woman. And on the right is the woman. That's the woman he fought. And she walked out of the ring with a fractured skull. Yeah, it's common sense. And yes, it's funny to think about the Alex Stein angle here. Guys, legalize betting so I can make millions on the transgender athletes. It's outrageous. It's over the top. That's what satire is supposed to be, to make a point at how ridiculous these ideas are. Sometimes to illustrate the absurdity of an idea, you take it to its extreme to show just how absurd it is. So arguing to the Irving City Council that they need to legalize sports betting so I can make my millions for my baby mamas by betting on Lia Thomas in the next swim meet is absurd and over the top and ridiculous, but not as ridiculous as what they're trying to do with women's athletics. Because the end result is this. And there's nothing funny about that. Nothing at all.